Oh, hey there. Hey, welcome back to Arena Football Statement. I am your host, Ducon, and today I'm going to try something new. A little thing I like to call Review and Preview. IFL Week 1. Here's how it's going to work. It's a complete experiment, okay? I'm just going to shoot from the hip, see how it turns out. You guys let me know what you think, and if I decide that's worth my time, I'll keep doing them. However, when we get into more of the leagues and everybody's playing at once, I'm going to have to get a little selective because these things are a lot of work. But let's just have some fun with this. You guys let me know if this is something I need to continue to do, okay? All right, here's how it works. We're going to review the games from the previous week and preview the games for the upcoming weekend. Kicking off on Saturday night was the IFL champions, the Massachusetts Pirates, hosting the Frisco Fighters. Two great head coaches in Billy Back and Rayshon Kaiser. And you know what? I'm going to say it. No doubt in my mind, these are the two best defenses in the league. In Game 1, the kickoff classic. Will the Pirates defend the ship? They come out in these beautiful, gorgeous redesigned jerseys, and the Fighters come out in some ugly, disdainful, nasty, I don't even know what those are jerseys. Their helmets still looked fairly decent. Starting off in first quarter action, first drive of the game, the give is to Justin Rankin with a 7-yard run into the end zone. Makes it look so effortless as he did in Bismarck, the very thing that made the Frisco Fighters pick the man up. Toward the end of the first comes the great kicker, Mr. Money, Josh Gable, knocking it from 35 yards out, 7-3 Fighters. And a defensive stop gives the Pirates back the ball, and the all too familiar Dro to T.O. connection from 6 yards out. An extra point from Gable puts them up 10-7. Blake Sims, who he brought down from Spokane, who throws a little pass out to Justin Rankin, who so effortlessly walks into the end zone from 22 yards out, but the kick fails. Of course, your man, Mr. Josh Gable, would hit another field goal early in the third to tie the ball game up at 13. Then with Blake Sims back in the game, a 5-yard throw caught by Laquiviante Gonzalez, the former Pirate, back in the DCU Center, this time as the enemy, making them pay. Moments later in the fourth quarter, you have Mr. Alejandro Benefield doing what Mr. Alejandro Benefield does with a 15-yard scamper to pay dirt. Mr. Automatic Gable puts it through, tie ball game again. Mass gets a stop, marches down the field again, and he finds who is fast becoming another favorite target, Mr. Dantes Bird from 5 yards out. And Gable puts in another point. 27-20 Massachusetts. It's getting real, my friends. 2:35 left in the game, and guess who it is? Mr. Justin Rankin with the hat trick, 19 yards out this time, proving why he was one of the best offseason acquisitions in the game, and Mr. Aguayo ties it up at 27. And of course, the defensive battle comes down to, wouldn't you know it, one of the most guaranteed things ever: death, taxes, and Massachusetts Pirates hitting the last-second field goal to win by 3. What else is new? Mr. Josh Gable, well done. Good luck in Canada, sir. Let's go on down to Sioux Falls, South Dakota, where the greatest IFL franchise, speaking strictly by championship wins, was hosting the return of the Quad City Steamwheelers. And this one started out to look like a little bit of a defensive slugfest too, starting out with Sawyer Petrie hitting a field goal. Quad City marches down, and Kimo Nehu hits a field goal as well, ties it up at 3. Then one of the greatest running backs in the game, Nate Chavius, takes the rock 4 yards to pay dirt. Extra point is good, 10-3 Sioux Falls Storm. Sioux Falls looks like they're in complete control when Taz Wilson throws it into a bunch of Steamwheelers defense, picked off by Mr. Darion Jackson, and look at him go. 50 yards to pay dirt. The PAT failed, 10-9 Sioux Falls Storm. Then the Storm take an impressive drive down the field led by Mr. Taslim Wilson, who finds Aaron Dilworth 5 yards out, who makes the catch. Extra point is good from Petrie, 17-9, but Petrie wasn't done with 6 seconds left on the clock in the half. He hits the deuce for 2 points. 19-9 Storm up at the half. Coach Corey Ross tries a quarterback switch with David Perkins coming into the game. And after a really long drive, riddled with penalty after penalty after penalty after penalty, 7-minute drive on a 50-yard field ends with Mr. David Perkins a dart to Kevin Stud Rudd for 6. That extra point was fumbled and was no good. 19-15 Sioux Falls Storm. Nathaniel Shavius got injured earlier in the game, so Mr. Bryson Denley comes into the game and has a 1-yard run into the end zone. The extra point on that side failed. 25-15 Storm. The Quad City Steamwheelers marched down the field somewhat, ending with another Kimo Nehu 29-yard field goal, 25-18, but that was countered by a Sioux Falls field goal from Petrie from 20 yards out, 28-18 Sioux Falls Storm. And then, of course, wouldn't you know it, inside 1 minute, a fumble recovered by Andreas Lilly. Sawyer Petrie kicks the extra point through, 35-18 with only 52 seconds left. The ball game's pretty much over, but Carry-On Moore says, "Hey, you brought me down from Green Bay for a reason. Let me show what I've got." A 49-yard kickoff return to make the score look a little less lopsided than it actually was. 35-24 Sioux Falls Storm. Then we go on down to Green Bay. Green Bay went 0-4 against Bismarck a season ago. Can they turn the tide in week 1? At the beautiful Resch Center with plenty of fans in the stands, it looked beautiful to see so many people back in their game. A lot of new faces on both of these teams. How would they fare? Green Bay leads it off with a throw from Torrance Gibson to Des Stewart for 6. Extra point nailed by Mr. Nick Jaworski, 7-0 Green Bay. Didn't last long because Taj Tolbert hits John Brunner from 11 yards out for a touchdown. Chase Albaugh hits the extra point, tied up at 7. In the second quarter, Green Bay drives down the field and Mr. Nick Jaworski 33 yards out and bam, he's got a 10-7 lead for Green Bay. Ensuing possession for the Bismarck Bucks. Taj Tolbert finds his favorite target, Mr. John Brunner again, touchdown. 13-10, but the extra point from Albaugh is blocked. Mr. James Brown gets his paws on it. 13-10 Bismarck. After a fumble recovered by the Bismarck Bucks, Bismarck marches it down and Chase Albaugh hits a 16-yard field goal as time expires. 16-10 Bismarck at the half. In the third quarter, more woes for the Green Bay Blizzard. Another fumble. And Mr. Taj Tolbert going deep. Rob Brown gets behind the defense for a 28-yard score. Extra point by Albaugh, 23-10 Bismarck. Ensuing possession for the Green Bay Blizzard, Torrance Gibson finds Des Stewart from 13 yards out. Des Stewart with another touchdown. The extra point from Jaworski is good. Bismarck not too effective on offense. After that, however, Chase Albaugh hits a 31-yard field goal, 26-17. And at the end of the game, just to make the score look a little bit better for Green Bay, Torrance Gibson to Des Stewart for the hat trick, this time 10 yards out. No extra point kicked. Game over. 26-23. Bismarck Bucks have now won 5 in a row against the Green Bay Blizzard. Complaint and praise. There are things that irk me and there are things that excite me. And every week there will be something of each. This league's a pretty stable league. It's pretty fun in some ways. I'll always look forward to make the game better. Now, my biggest complaint, IFL penalties. Penalties. Do you realize Frisco Fighters had the most yards out of any team this weekend? 168. 168! The worst teams in the NFL get that in a half. You've got a 50-yard field. It's supposed to be about offense, and you get 168 yards. That's the most out of any team this week. Oh, but there was also 15 penalties committed by the Frisco Fighters for 131 yards. They netted 37 yards and scored 27 points. Something's got to be done, IFL. There was 25 penalties in the mass Frisco game. You think that's fun to watch? Well, it wasn't. All right, I'm going to calm down. It was fun to watch. But that part's got to be cleaned up. I get it. It's week 1. People are getting familiar with the rules. Sometimes you bring new guys in who have never played the indoor game, you know, and you're trying to get used to the rules. Sometimes the refs are getting used to it. Sometimes they think that they see something that really isn't a penalty. I get it. Doesn't make it less frustrating, but I get it. Hopefully week 2 will clean things up. What is it about IFL rules that is making to where teams can't score points? The teams this week altogether averaged 27.5 points a game. Somewhere out there, there's a high school hockey team that averages 27.5 points a game. You know why people liked the indoor game in the first place? Because there were a lot of points scored. It was high-octane offense. There was some pretty impressive defensive displays. Massachusetts and Frisco hitting each other so hard. Oh man, Paris Taylor lit people up. Patrick making plays, James Brown making plays. There was some beautiful defense. Now, enough of my complaints. I now must give some praise. The biggest praise I have for the weekend is the Green Bay Blizzard fans. They came out. They showed up. Get out and see a game. This is a blast, even though it's not perfect. And the Blizzard fans showed up, and they were a great crowd. So kudos to you guys. Look, I'm not great at this, okay? But I'm gonna give some grades to the teams this week just because nobody cares anyway if I grade or not. But I'm going to because I wanna feel like I'm some smart teacher. And you know what? I'm not gonna be very nice. Let's start with the Frisco Fighters. I'm giving them a C. Why? Because 131 penalty yards. Yes, all that wasn't their fault, but they gotta clean it up. Look, I get that you're trying out 2 quarterbacks, TJ Edwards and Blake Sims, to see who's gonna do it for you. I get that. Couldn't convert on 4th down. Lots of penalties. Those things gotta be cleaned up. But at the end of the day, you were still in the game. The defense did good. But I'm not giving you a B. I'm giving you a C because those jerseys were hideous. What happened to the ones last year? Why change something if it's beautiful? Those were hideous jerseys, and they were ripping apart. Again, not the Frisco Fighters' fault, but it needs cleaned up. Massachusetts Pirates, a C+, not much better. The offense didn't look near as good. Of course, they've got some new guys. Dro to T.O. was really stagnant for what they usually have, and that could be credited to a really stiff Frisco Fighters defense. The D-line's insane. Cedric Poole with the interception. There's some guys on Frisco that are frisky. The frisky Frisco Fighters. But Massachusetts made a lot of mistakes. They had 10 penalties themselves. Their run game was almost non-existent. The 15-yard scamper for a touchdown by Benefield was the only really good-looking run play that Massachusetts had. And now Josh Gable's gone. I like the uniforms, though. Those were pretty. Those were really pretty. The Sioux Falls Storm, I'll give them a B because of their defense and because they overcome adversity. Their defense was amazing. Marquise Hendricks and Paris Taylor, and those guys were swarming on the field. The defense was solid, made Quad City's offense look non-existent. I was really impressed, and because Sioux Falls overcame adversity. Nathaniel Shavius got hurt, JoJo Gauss got hurt. They overcame, they still made a go of it, and still won the game pretty soundly, although they could have done it more soundly. So they get a B. Quad City Steamwheelers, F-. Ducon, there's not an F-. There is now. The Quad City Steamwheelers showed us what it looked like. 63 yards of total offense. 63 in an offensive game. 63 yards. 68 penalty yards. A negative net yard. Their special teams and defense scored more than their offense. Yes, Quad City, I'm talking to you. That did not look like a Corey Ross team, and you better clean it up because the Barnstormers are coming, and they have Storm in their name too. Clean it up. The only great plays to really talk about were Darion Jackson with a 50-yard pick return and Carrion Morph with a 49-yard kickoff return. If you don't have Arion in your name, you weren't contributing. Clean it up. Bismarck Bucks, I'll give them a C+. Here's why. I'll give them a C+. Here's why. All credit to their defense. Their offense looked really stagnant at times. Yes, they made some nice plays. John Brunner is a revelation. 8 catches, 55 yards, 2 touchdowns. Rob Brown with 5 catches, 51 yards and a touchdown. Tosh Tolbert did fairly decent. They were able to put points on the board. They were able to win the game. But with 3 fumbles by the Green Bay Blizzard getting great field position for Bismarck Bucks, they should have been putting up a lot more points than that. But credit to them, they only committed 2 penalties throughout the game. Defense was good, and they kept it clean. Green Bay Blizzard, D+. And here's why. Butterfingers, 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 hold on to the ball. You coughed it up too many times. Turnovers will kill you. I was impressed with Torrance Gibson. He wasn't consistent, but he made some nice plays. He's a dual threat quarterback that made it a little bit confusing at times. Got to get Keyshawn Taylor more involved in the game. There's actually a lot of, there's a lot of something. The Green Bay Blizzard actually might have a pretty decent season. There was a lot of nice things I saw from them, but for the most part, they just didn't deliver in this particular game. I did see potential, though. Let's go into some previews for week 2. We're going to start with Iowa Barnstormers at the Quad City Steamwheelers. Quad City. You know how I feel already, and I know you're going to make it right. The Iowa Barnstormers are a really solid franchise. Who knows what they're going to have with the new coach and a lot of new faces and who their quarterback is, I don't know. But you're back in the Tax Slayer Center. Tax Slayer Center. That's a cool name. Tax Slayer Center. That's a cool name. Well, you're back there for the first time since 2019. You know what? I think the fans are going to come out, and I think that they're going to want to see the Quad City Steamwheelers rebound from that embarrassing week 1, and I think that they're going to have an offensive display and a defensive display, and I think Quad City wins it by 7. Moving on, the Northern Arizona Wranglers at the Vegas Nighthawks, the debut, very first inaugural game of the Vegas Nighthawks. Brand new stadium, brand new turf. Oh boy, what I'm looking at in this game is Ulrich Jones from the Wranglers and Nick Woodman from the Nighthawks trying to one-up each other all game long. An individual competition I'm going to enjoy watching. Look, I think it's going to be a tight game. But I think in the end, Vegas squeaks it out, giving their fans some love. And it will be the birth of one wonderful rivalry. Let's go to the Battle of the Dakotas. Sioux Falls Storm at the Bismarck Bucks. Look, last year Sioux Falls was Bismarck's Achilles heel. They just couldn't figure out Sioux Falls. And I don't think Bismarck knows how to deal with them quite yet, especially after the defensive play that Sioux Falls put on Quad City. Sioux Falls is loaded on defense. And I don't know if Taj and company can really weather the storm. Storm by 10. This is the game of the week. The Duke City Gladiators travel back to Phoenix to take on the Arizona Rattlers. Man, there will be fireworks everywhere. I don't know that I've ever imagined a more intense week 1 matchup in the indoor game than this will be. Holy camole, the offensive attack of Duke City might be too lethal. I'm sorry to say it, but man, way too many weapons, and Nate Davis is way too good, and he's fired. DC has unfinished business in Phoenix. They have been thinking about this for a long time, and I think they get it started this weekend. Duke City by 3. And last but not least, San Diego Strike Force at the Bay Area Panthers, the Choi Bowl. Roy Choi owns both teams, the Choi Bowl. You know, that sounds like a gourmet Chinese dish. Yeah. I'd like to order the Choi Bowl, please. Well, the truth is, it's already been on order for a while. We finally get to see the Bay Area Panthers play. And I'm sure the San Jose crowd will be rocking for this one. But you know, the receiving core and the defense on San Diego, I think, is going to be a little bit much for the Bay Area Panthers, spoiling their debut, San Diego by 10. The Bay Area Panthers will finally play a game, and I'm so giddy for this Monday night matchup. Oh man, I'm so giddy. I just want to shed a tear. And that is my arena football statement.